Hey guys, all right, this is our recording for the story Little Swallow. All right, just a bit of background. China is kind of China is the setting of the story. And so just a little bit of background about China is that it's home to more than 1 billion people. And after suffering years of starvation, China became a communist country in 1949. Communism is a type of government in which the government owns all of the land and property. They also decide what type of food will be grown and how much people will receive. Thank God we're not a communist country. All right. The first leader of communist China was Mao. He created plans and programs that he thought would be good for the people, but in the end harmed them greatly. His plan was isolation and self-sufficiency. However, China does not have the most fertile soil, so over time, 50 million people starved to death. Another goal of his was to eliminate China's sparrow population, and we will find out why. All right, so looking at page 381, we start off by being introduced to our first character. Who was it? Right, Little Swallow. All right, and so Little Swallow was upset at another character, Ying Dai. Why was she upset? Because he was about to smash little sparrow eggs. And so she yells at him and she says, "Why are you about to smash these eggs?" And ultimately she finds out that the village leader had ordered them to be destroyed. All right, what did Ying Dai then do? He threw a rock and destroyed the eggs. And so Little Swallow then runs to the schoolhouse and asks the teacher about it. Who does the teacher say ordered this ruling? Mao, the chairman, which is kind of like their president or their ruler. All right, and so Swallow then looks up at the picture of her leader Mao and says, "Surely he has made a mistake. He has ordered everyone in their land to kill all the sparrows." All right, and so how often did they say that they would do this? So how often did they say that they were going to kill sparrows? They said they were going to do it every Sunday until spring. And so she runs home to her grandfather and she tells him about it. The next day, she is outside, and what did she hear? Fireworks, the sounds of pots and pans, firecrackers, and yelling. So ultimately, what the teacher had said was their plan that they had come up with that was the easiest way for them to destroy all of the sparrows. The quickest was to go out into the rice fields because the sparrows were eating all of the rice, and to go out into the rice fields and to make as much noise as they could and scare them up into the air and keep scaring them until they got exhausted from flying around, and then they would fall to the ground and they would be able to kill them. And so little Swallow said she was not going to be a part of that. And so the next day she wakes up and she hears the sounds of pots and pans and firecrackers and yelling. And so she can take one guess as to what they're out there doing. And so why was she hearing all of this noise? Because the people were out there killing the birds. And so what is all over the ground when they go to the fields? Poor little sweet birds. And so what does Swallow ask her dad to do? Because when the birds would fall down, he would have to go over there and physically kill them before, they were dead. They weren't just dead because they were on the ground, or because they had fallen out of the sky. They were just on the ground exhausted. And so ultimately she goes to her dad and asks if they can scoop up some of the exhausted birds and nurse them back to health and keep them in a cage. And so they ask the leader, and he says as long as they're caged and they take care of them themselves, that they don't mind. But they, are still going to continue to kill the population. And so they gather the birds and they bring them to the pet bird owners. And so after they kill a ton of birds, some time passes by and they've killed all these birds. what starts to torment them? Mosquitoes. I bet they didn't see that coming. All right. What else did they say started tormenting their crops? Grasshoppers. And so, what does the grandfather say is the reason for the extra pest? The sparrows. They're not there to eat the bugs. That's just like bats. We have a lot of bats in our house because we live out in the country. And you never want to really kill your bats because they're going to be eating mosquitoes and all your, annoying bugs that are chomping on you while you're outside trying to work. So, we're thankful for our bats and frogs. I mean, I know frogs are not everybody's favorite creature, but they are very useful because they eat flies and they eat mosquitoes, and so we definitely don't want to get rid of those little friends. All right. So 2 years after the order to kill the birds, what do they finally decide? That they will not allow any more sparrows to be killed. And so what does the chairman now want them to do? Protect their nests. And so what do the villagers do with the birds that they had caged? They freed them. Very good. All right, and so why it's just a good question to ask why we think that they decided to let the other sparrows live and to let them go and let them reproduce and let them repopulate. And ultimately it's because they felt like they needed to get rid of them in the beginning simply because they were eating a lot of rice out of their fields. And, rice was their big thing that they ate. And so, that the people ate. And so they didn't want these birds to be eating up all their crop. However, the amount that the birds were eating was in no way, shape, or form even comparable to the amount that the grasshoppers and the mosquitoes were really the grasshoppers were eating it. The mosquitoes were just torturing the people, but the amount that the grasshoppers devoured because they weren't being killed by the sparrows was way more amount of their crop being destroyed than they had ever had lost from the sparrows. So ultimately, they see the error of their ways. All right, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this little story. I thought it was a pretty neat story. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I want you to do your quick review. I will check it tomorrow.